I know it's kind of at a funny angle, but allows me to move around and stuff. Was asked, well, we talked about it and then I was asked to do this. I'm building what is called busy board. I hate to tell you this, I had no idea what that was. You guys may not know either. This may or may not make, you know, may not make it to one of my videos. However, it's for my soon-to-be one-year-old grandson. And my wife found it on something that she follows, and I thought it was kind of a cool idea. There's many different ways to do these. This one is actually going to be pretty good sized. It doesn't have to be this big. I think this thing is 2 foot by 3 foot. Yeah. Got this at Lowe's, 1 inch thick. It's way too big for probably what it needs to be, and I'm actually going to build it as a stand. And okay, it'll take measures done. It's a junk one. Anyway, so it's actually kind of going to be angled, kind of like a desktop, but it's going to be kind of angled down. And I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. I didn't want it to fall over, so it's actually going to have kind of a, feet sticking out of it, so that it kind of be his height, because he's walking just now. He's just under a month now from being a year old, and I don't want. It's going to have very round edges. Everything is going to be semi-round. Most of the stand is going to be under it, but enough that it's not going to try to fall over one way or the other. A lot of the ones I've seen, people are either leaning them up against a wall, or they might have had slight back and they are almost standing straight up and down, or they were just laying flat. And that's kind of, to me, it's fine, but if a kid can get a hold of something and they try to pull themselves up, especially because he's kind of a big kid for his age, and I'm afraid he's going to pull it over on himself. Once this thing is done, it's going to be kind of heavy, especially being 1 inch thick. Of course, again, you do not have to make it near this big, but when I get into something, I kind of go overboard when I do these, and it can always be made smaller. Later on, it can be changed or completely trashed, and we can start over again, make kindling out of it. So there's a lot of different things to do. So I'm going to kind of partially set up and tell you why I'm actually going to be slightly angling it also. I mean, it could be a flat board, but again, I didn't like the ideas of the edges. I mean, there's always going to be sharp edges to fall on. I don't want it laying flat where you can get on top of it, because there's things that could hurt him, especially if he's barefoot, which most kids are. So basically, there's going to be holes drilled through it, of course. Again, be stood up. We're going to put, some of this stuff is not out of, well, most of it's not out of its packages. Basically, it's going to be a rocker light switch and then a regular old light switch. So it really, again, they're not really going to work. Yes, I could pre-wire it and make it to where it plugs in the wall, but there's a cord that could be chewed on. They've got animals. Don't want that to happen. So basically, I'll probably put them there. That's just kind of showing where it may be. Doesn't have to be here. Nothing is really set in stone. That's just a cover, a light cover for it. I don't know if you can see it's in plastic. Probably put kind of just a latch. This I'll blunt the end. It's not very sharp anyway, but I'll probably blunt the end. These will obviously be screwed down. Again, there's no real rhyme or reason of setting them. A couple lights. They'll be. You can actually take them apart. I can screw them in. That way they don't come apart. And they can change the batteries in. They're just a touch light. They go on and off. He can touch them, turn them on and off. It's not, not rocket science right here. And again, there's no set place for anything. Even had an old remote laying around from one of the TV. Might, easily Velcro that on where it can be took off. Doesn't matter if it goes back on. Same with, yes, don't laugh. Keep old cell phones. How about an old BlackBerry? But half of you don't even know what. Well, some of the younger ones definitely don't know what that is. Got one of my old razors. I took the batteries out of all these. Nothing has batteries in them except these lights. I didn't want that. And my wife come up with this, which is kind of cool, but it's metal. It's one of those hide keys that you magnetically stick on the back of something. I thought about permanently mounting it, where you could just slide the thing back and forth. I think it's metal. It could be plastic. No, it's actually plastic. This is plastic. I guess I've never read it. I just don't want anything with sharp edges or anything he can pinch himself, you know, fingers wise, or you know what I mean. I don't know. It's a possibility. You can always put that on there. Got one of these, basically this old barn latch, guess you want to call it. Again, this stuff will move and slide, but it won't go anywhere. It's not like it's going to fall off. You could actually, I've seen them where they actually recess some stuff. They put hinges on there. Doors open, be pictures of family or pictures of you know, whatever they like, and Mickey Mouse or dinosaurs or whatever. You're only limited by your imagination. One of them little door locks too. Again, no set place to set anything. One of the old chain locks. Again, this is more of, it's not really learning, but it sort of is. You know, it's going to make them, because everything's shining, everything is bright, and kids like that kind of stuff. It draws their attention to a lot of that stuff. Even have an old master lock, which what I'll do is I don't have it with. I haven't bought one yet. I'll just buy one of those. Just a loop that screws in. That way, that thing can actually hang on there and put on, and you know he can turn it. He can eventually learn the combination if he plays with it long enough. I mean, kids, you just don't know how long they'll play with something. These you can't beat. Animals and kids love these, especially cats. Cats and kids. I played with them when I was little. My grandparents had a picture of me back in the '60s. Yes, in the '60s. Of me playing with these. So they just, it's, you know, threaded on the end. It's basically a door stop. I hope you're even seeing what I've been kind of showing you there. But anyway, it's one of them springy deals for a door stop. That can go just about anywhere. And on the side, because this thing is going to be up and over, there's obviously going to be wood on the side. I'm actually going to drill, and just a big U-bolt is basically what it is. But I'll double nut that. That thing will actually be hanging out the side. And I'll have these carabiners hanging off of it. Because he's still small and obviously chews on stuff, you can hang just about anything that they might like to chew on. Again, I don't think he's going to be able to pull this thing down, and I'll adjust it to where it can't really be a handhold, but if it is, it shouldn't hurt to do it. And if it finds that's a problem, again, this stuff can always be taken off. It's a nice thing about these. If you use screws or whatever, it may leave a hole, or you can put something else. You can always change it out with something else. It's really not going to hurt anything. Anyway, this will be hanging from the side. My wife got these little rubber deals. Again, he could possibly chew on them, and it's really not going to hurt anything. We'll clean them up and stuff. And but you can hang them on there. They can be took off. They could put teething rings on there. Anything that they want, you know, as he's teething, put them on there. They can be changed out at any time. It's a nice thing about the carabiners. You know, well, these technically aren't. These are latches. These are not true carabiners. You can't use them for that. So anyway, that's what that is. My wife, that was a good idea for zipper, because kids kind of like, you know, grabbing a hold of stuff. That will either be screwed down, possibly, or whatever. Now you're wondering what's in the center. Well, I'm a car guy, so we can't be without something. Like, oh, looky there. So that's probably what I'll actually bolt through there. I bought the horn kit for it, which this was probably one of the most expensive things I bought. But it'll set up just a little bit and actually be on a, you know, where you can turn it. Now, obviously, it's not going to turn anything, but it will be turnable. So you know, it's rubber. It does not have the holes in it. I'll make sure there's no sharp edges anywhere, because these things are from China, so you got to make sure that they're not. Plus, being vinyl, I mean, once he gets teeth and can actually chew, these things are rubbery, but they're not hard enough that he can pull, you actually chew pieces of it off, because I've seen the foam ones where they could actually pull that off. Plus, if he falls down on it, yes, it's going to hurt, but again, it's not going to be something super dangerous, especially how deep that is. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to do it. I'm not saying it can't be done. Kids can fall in kind of stupid, funny ways, but anyway, the other end, which we kind of almost talked ourselves out of, and there's a reason for that. Well, we can't find some of the stuff we're looking for, but on the other end was just a steel cookie sheet that was going to be hanging on the end. What that was going to be for was magnetic stuff to actually, you know, like letters and numbers and stuff. He can move around. The problem is most of them are not for kids that small. Most of them are like 3 years old and up, and I thought maybe we could find some bigger letters or numbers. I know this thing isn't very big, just kind of a standard 17 inch, yeah. But anyway, cookie sheet. But I'm not sure what we're going to do, if we're going to do anything. We may do it for possibly later on, or we may leave it off. There's nothing that says that has to be on there. And one other thing kids like to do, of course, is old calculators. This thing, of course, a D-battery. It's something that it's we've got lots of calculators laying around. They can be Velcroed, they can be permanently mounted, they can be glued on, they can be Velcroed. There's lots of different ways to put those on there. So again, you're only limited on what you have. I think he's kind of young to have some of the stuff, but I also kind of want to keep him occupied. So anyway, this is kind of what it's going to look like. I'm not going to go through step by step how to do this. It's just too much to kind of go on. I'm going to have to round the corners first and then sand all the edges down, get the whole thing sanded down, kind of pencil in where I want everything. And then once I get the holes, you know, like if you think about how this is going to be, obviously I'm going to have to draw a hole through here, then figure out a way that's like a bolt through there with a nut all the way down, or a couple of washers so that the thing can't bottom out and be tightened up, but some type of lock nut maybe keep it up. I still have to get the hoop for that. There's going to be other things possibly added, things possibly subtracted. Next time you see it, obviously it's going to be a pretty good sized hole here for the light fixtures to go in. Everything else is going to be just screwed on kind of on the outside, and then we may get a couple other different things. Like I said, we're going to just kind of look around and see. And these remotes and phones may not even be on here, but we had them. We're never going to use them, obviously. So it doesn't hurt if it get chewed on or anything. Yeah, it's not good on electronics, but again, these things completely been debatteried. I pulled all that stuff out of them. More for yeah, they're dangerous for kids to get a hold of. And it's funny, it takes 3 adults to figure out how to get a back off of one of these to get the battery out. A kid can have that thing dismantled in 3 seconds when you got your back turned. So yeah, you know what I mean? So, anyway, that's where we're at, and that's what I'm going to build. And you know, again, I know this isn't something that you know, this is not normally something on my channel, or obviously, but I like dealing with wood, and this is one of my grandkids, and I thought it was kind of a cool idea. It's not something that I would have ever come up with on my own. It's just not in my, you know, my thinking. But anyway, so we'll get back with you when we're either further along or you know, maybe when it's finished. All right, quick update on that busy board. I just thought I would throw this out here in case anybody's interested in building something similar. Obviously, you can do it 1,000 different ways, but basically, that's the frame already set up. The board is, I've already pre-cut most of the holes and drilled, and I've had everything on it, and took it all back apart so it could be sanded. And anyway, the base is not, well, there's 2 befores at the bottom that are black and different colors. Those were spare pieces. They're obviously going to be painted. They've already been cleaned up the edges, sanded. I rounded everything I possibly could on it because it's kind of going to be a toe issue, even though that, of course, the board on the floor is 2 foot by 3 foot, and this is smaller than that by a little bit, you know, so I can round the corners, and there'll be some edges so they can get a hold of. Because this thing's going to be kind of heavy, you know, when it's done. And but anyway, I didn't know if anybody was interested in just basic frame size. I made this. Let me get my tape measure out and I'll just show you. Come on. Of course, upside down. It's 33.5. Now, mind you, that's 36, so there's plenty on the edges. It's 33.5 wide by, I made that 21 long. Mind you, the outside ones are the other ones are 21, so the inside pieces are smaller than that. But anyway, that gives me plenty of space, you know, every direction. And then total for the base looks to be about 21 on both sides. And then of course I ran it on the outside edge, and it's just looks like 35. I think it was 35 3/4 to begin with, and then I sanded everything down. So and then the height, what I did, sorry that you're trying to do this both-handed and run the stupid tape measure at the same time here. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so this piece here, inside was 15. Sorry about that, guys. 15, and then the outside of that was 18.5. And then this one, I know this is really crappy camera work trying to do this. This ended up being 22.5 and then 26 at that top edge. So basically I cut it 26, cut that one 18.5, and then
had my wife actually hold the frame off the floor, and then I just kind of guessed, and then she ran a marker for me to get the first angle, because I don't have an angle finder, and if I do, I probably could figure out how to use it anyway. So but anyway, you can kind of angle it any way you want. You got to figure he's about 2.5 feet tall, and so obviously it's sitting on the table. So when you think about how tall that is, I'm not sure he's going to be able to reach all of it, but he can get. I would think he's going to be able to get a majority of it. And if anything, it's too tall or too short, those 1-bys can be replaced any height at any time. You know, whether it need to be lowered, it could be cut, or if it needs to be raised up, it's not a big deal. We get some more and start over again, or just take those ones in the back, put them in the front, and then just get some for the back. So, because everything's screwed together, so you know, it's not like this is going to be permanent. Now, I did use brad nails, to put the frame, you know, the outside frame together, but everything else is screwed. So I didn't figure the frame part will change just because of the way that you know, the size of that board's not going to change. So anyway, we got a few other things we're going to add to it that we found when we were at the store, and probably the next video will be this thing either going together or will be complete. I'm not sure which one, because again, I could show you everything it did, but step by step, it really isn't going to do you any good if you don't do it exactly like I do. And if I don't give you every measurement, every dimension, everything I bought, the size of everything I bought, it's just a roll of the dice what it'll look like. So you guys do, if you want to build one of these yourself, Google it on the images, and there's about 1 million of them on there, different shapes, sizes, styles, and amount of things that are on it. Each child, of course, learns different, and then the age bracket will also change what could be on here. So this has nothing that's removable, nothing that's small enough that if he got in his mouth he could hurt himself on. And I understand it's made of wood, and I'm going to round everything I possibly can, but of course there's always a possibility of falling and damaging him, you know, himself. So if it looks like it's going to be the problem where he's a klutz like me, then you know, that's kind of how it rolls. We could actually foam the edges of a lot of it, actually, you know, kind of put some foam and stuff on it, and it might not look as good, but safety is overall the priority, not necessarily, you know, looks. And then if it just absolutely looks like he can't take it, you know, because it's a constant hassle to move it or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, I probably got a couple $100 into it, I'm not going to lie about that, but it's something that I kind of wanted to try. I liked kind of the way this one looked, the way that it was on the pictures, and I thought, well, I got to give it a try. So when it's done, I'll give you some pictures. See ya. I thought I'd just make another real quick one to add to what I'm doing, I suppose. I finally got this done. I had some problems with this. Again, I got really impatient, and I tried to put all 3 coats of urethane on the same day, and it actually counteracted. I'm not sure what kind of wood this is. It's soft. It's kind of pre-cut from Lowe's. I mean, they actually were selling it as they had different sizes of it, and I don't know if it's cedar, redwood. I'm not really sure what it is. It doesn't look very red. It could be pine, but I don't believe so. It doesn't make any difference what it is. It's very soft, and another reason why I got 1 inch thick was so that we could, you know, if we had any issues, that I could take care of, you know, either sand it down a little more, or turn it over, start over, whatever. But either way, what I'm running into though is it really did not. It didn't take good to that. I mean, I sanded it down, but it's like. It's kind of like when you put paint on something that's got a little oil on it. It kind of started separating it, you know, like checking it. It still did it. I even resanded it again, and you're probably not going to be able to see that. It still did it, but not as bad. So I don't know if it's the glue and then putting this together, or because I imagine it's just a bunch of pieces glued together. I could be wrong. It just looks that way to me. It almost looks like a hardwood floor to a certain point. But it doesn't make any difference. It looks better this time. I just did a light sand on it with some 220, and then put another coat on it yesterday. So it's sat 24 hours, and it's about to go on there. This is kind of the finished product to a certain point. I've got the mounts already on. I'm just going to set it on there now. The reason I wanted to show you this is that tube. I told you on there that the wiffle ball drops. I don't have the top on there yet, because I'm actually going to add couple 3 inches on top of red tube on that silver kind of colored 90 or whatever. Yeah, just to kind of add color. This is how I mounted them. I actually took some hose clamps, just drilled them, just put some self-tapping screws in there along with a couple of small washers so they didn't go all the way through. And that's really all it is. It's your simple deal. Stick that tube in there, stop where you want, tighten down, done. You can move them around if you needed to. Everything's on the inside, so if it wasn't the way I wanted it to, or if I wanted to change this later on. I mean, the cool thing would have been to put like a Y right here, you know, on top, just on the other side of that it could go either way, then run out both sides. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could have done it. I'm real short on time, and actually found out I was shorter than what I originally thought. I actually have to work the birthday, so we were planning on going the weekend after. That's not going to work now, so we got to go the weekend before. So that gives me another week to get this completely finished. So that's why I'm doing, plus I have to work this weekend, so that's why I had to kind of get after this. So anyway, enough of the boring garbage. Just a quick update on this. Next time you see it, should be mostly together. Okay, this is the finished product. I had to make a few changes, some things didn't work the way I wanted to, so I went and picked up another couple of little doodads and changed some stuff, but it's mostly the same as it was to begin with. That's the thing, that when you get a board this size, it's not that you're limited on stuff, because like I said, you're limited to your imagination, money obviously, and then how old the child is. But you don't want to get carried away with stuff that's just not right for their age group, whether it be something they chew on or something that could hurt them. The biggest thing here, the reason I finished this off, got 3 or 4 coats of clear and painted about 3 or 4 coats on it, is because I sanded everything down, rounded everything I could because of splinter issues. Yeah, I didn't want that stuff splintering, and because I know he's going to be stepping on it and jerking and chewing and all that stuff. So, that's one of the reasons why everything is round. Yes, there's metal on the board, and yes, he could hurt himself if he falls on it. But we have to wait for him to kind of get past that, that age group where he's not tripping, because right now he's just learned how to walk. By the time this is out, he's probably only been walking for a short time. And at the beginning of the month, this is actually, what are we at here? I think this is the 9th of August, and I know the first week of July he was pulling himself up, really couldn't walk yet, so he could pull himself up and stand up though. So anyway, long story short, this is it. I changed this around. I wanted a bigger one on there. It just wasn't in the cars. Oops, just stepped on a bunch of bunch of crap. I put them on there. Anything can be hung on there. We got a bunch of teething rings can be put on. A few other little things. I'll just kind of let them do that as they want. Those could even be took off and done something else with. That's just kind of the way it is. Everything underneath, besides these hose clamps, which I'm still trying to figure out. I really don't want to cut them because they'll leave sharp edges, but I'm going to try to figure a way to grab and clamp them because they are hanging down a little bit. But there's nothing under here that could hurt them. It's also sanded. It wasn't urethane, but I don't expect them to spend much time under here. That bolt head you see sticking through for the steering wheel. Everything else though has been rounded and deburred, so even if it climbs underneath there, it's not going to be an issue. The phones and the remote, they're just velcroed on, and they're on there pretty good. That stuff's stuck pretty good on there, both of them, but they can be removed. You can change that stuff up, and not a big deal there. Lights, of course, work, and they're all touch lights. I went ahead and put that up there. Our local ace donated that to me because the guy who worked there he just made one, a busy board for one of his kids. Well, I got them stacks up there. I just finished them up. They're not a big deal, but as you can see, that's kind of, like I said, then you stick the wiffle ball in there, each one of them, either one or whatever, and it kind of discharges on the floor, and works fine. I did have to clean up these were cheap 90s or 45s, excuse me, and had some trouble there. They wouldn't clear. They kept hanging up in the more expensive, thicker Schedule 40 stuff, I believe it was, because I don't think it's a Schedule 40. No, I don't think so. It would actually go through it, but it was hanging on here, so I had to take my my Dremel and cleaned up the inside of that 90, and then they fell right through. So anyway, I'm not going to be able to catch it coming out, dropping it and coming out at the same time. But when you drop it in, it comes out quick. Man, I lost the ball. It's like I figured I would. So anyway, it's just something for him, you know. Just you could done. If it was a little older kid that wouldn't stick the ball in their mouth, you could get really elaborate with smaller tubing, with 90s and 45s and Ys, and even that stuff that you could kind of bend it the way you want. You know, you could do a whole bunch of different things with that. Make it, you could actually do it on a wall or something. I wanted to kind of get in with why I kind of did this. You know, this one I put a ring on this side. These will probably be replaced with some of them other ones. Like, again, I just did it for, you know, we had them, so I hung them on there. The reason I made a stand instead of making it to where it either mounted the wall or leaned on the wall, so I kind of got into that to begin with. If you lay it flat on the ground, some of the stuff won't work the way you want it to. Chains, locks, hooks, stuff like that, stuff will just try to, you know, it's going to lay flat. And depending on what you put on there, a lot of stuff doesn't like to lay flat. Some of this stuff doesn't make any difference, some does. Number two is to mount it to a wall where they can't pull it over on themselves means you're going to have to put holes in the wall. Their house was just completely remodeled, top to bottom, inside and out. Talking from new roof, heat and AC, electrical, paint, walls, you know, I mean, everything was completely done. The last thing they want me to do is show up with something, start drilling holes in their wall. So that's the reason I built this stand. It's pretty sturdy. It's not going to fall over. It's not going to be able to be pulled over. As he gets a little older, if he wants to get him, you know, ambitious and obviously, you know, he could probably dump it then. But at his age, he's not going to be able to do that. And this thing weighs a little bit too, and I got a lot of money into it. I'm not going to lie. It's this was not cheap, but worth it. Yeah, it's just something I wanted to experiment with and try, and it worked out fine. So anyway, this is what we got, and it's finished, and hopefully he enjoys it for, you know, a couple of years. And then if he wants something different, or if we want to take off some stuff and add some, or actually the way it's designed, I can actually unscrew the board, take it loose, turn it over, put new different things on there, something that maybe he's more age orientated, or just completely change the top of the board altogether. And you know, we can change the color of the base, or, you know, change the way the tubing is. But everything here is actually removable. Besides obviously the hole in the center where the steering wheel goes is kind of centered. If I turn this thing 180, you know, turn it over and screw it down, the steering wheel's still going to be the exact same place. So that's not going to change anything. This I had to put a hole in and do. So that might change. Everything else can be turned over. There's no holes all the way through it except those two I just mentioned. So turning it over and then adding or subtracting or changing it all around is not that hard to do. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. So we'll talk to you later.